Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at, ladies and gents. I am Kura Isagami, your resident Tinkerer and Medarotter, and this is the Medarot News Network, bringing you all the latest developments and happenings with our favorite pet fighting robot series. Now, this week we're picking up momentum right where we left off with the Megaman Collab that started 2 weeks ago and is still ongoing currently. But to wrap up the event itself, the gachas themselves will still be open. So if you miss Rock Trains or Fortate up to this point, you still have a shot at them. So don't fret too much about that. But picking up right where we left off with the momentum built, we are going with a collaboration and special limited event with the Medarot Reloaded manga. And for that reason, I have labeled this week's episode Manga Madness. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into what was announced this week. As mentioned before, we do have a limited special event coming up where you can challenge the main protagonist of the Reloaded series, Kagami, in a new event battle to earn the following rewards. That includes himself as a Medarotter to equip as for passive buffs on your team, KBT-13 Tornado Beetle, a brand new KBT type that debuted exclusively in the manga. So this will be his very first 3D appearance and debut into the official series full scale. And then in addition to that, as the Spider Medal as another limited event reward to get a hold of. Now, just to touch base on how the event will operate briefly, unlike the Mega Man event that's been ongoing, that is point-based, this will be milestone-based. So instead of you equipping one part per build to get the maximum bonus, this one instead relies on you to use full builds or as many parts of highlighted bots as possible to stack the highest percentage bonus possible within between certain bots. So of course, the newcomer Spider type that'll be showcasing here shortly will grant the 12% up buff per part used. Highlighted bots coming this week in the Gacha also will be 10%. Tornado Beetle as an event reward, and Metabee, of course, as a spotlight will give a 8% bonus per part. And then, of course, this week's upcoming Fierce Battles will grant a 5% buff per part equipped on the team. So, granted, you want to try to stack the buff as high as you can. So when you're building teams, do try to make sure you focus on parts from these particular builds to make use of that bonus and get it as high as that you can. Now, just to touch on extra skills for this week, the Spider Medal itself has a skill match of melee, shooting, and setup, as well as a leg match of multi, wheel, and float leg. So definitely a very solid, pretty well-rounded medal as well, especially with it being a hunter nature. So that means it's already going to be really handy for Metaforce-reliant builds, or even something that just wants to maybe build Metaforce on the side for that occasional nuke. On top of that, with the introduction of the new Spider type, which I'll be mentioning briefly in just a moment, it does introduce a brand new attack mechanic to the game called Power Hammer, which is an AoE attack much like standard hammer. However, the caveat and additional bonus to Power Hammer is that it has a 1.5 damage bonus if the user's legs are intact, which basically makes it much like Mega Gatling or Power Rifle that we've had currently in-game. Moving on with this week are the weekly gachas that are going to be showcasing to highlight bots that made their debut or have made their highlights in the manga up to this point. Of course, is SPI-05 Yacht Spider, the brand new model that will be debuting in the game as well, with Deathlock, Power Hammer, Double Power Hammer, and then the Weapon Master leg ability. I'll be going over him as well as all the other bots for this week in their own individual videos on my Robattle Analytics playlist, so do stay tuned for those. KBT-01 Metabee as a spotlight. KBT-05 Black Beetle will be making a rerun. Garutman GAL-0, the Garuda type, will also be coming back briefly, as well as DBL-01 Belzelga. So if you guys have been looking for any particular bots of this set, but never had the chance to, especially with Black Beetle, who debuted relatively recently, and had quite an event going on with her too, with the Medarot 3 event that we had probably about a month ago, roughly to this point, maybe a month and a half. But definitely a great shot to pick up some pretty solid bots all around. So absolutely for sure, you want to try to aim for Yogg Spider as your priority. Not just for the sake that it is a brand new newcomer, of course, but also because it does yield the highest bonus per part when using parts during the event. So definitely do shoot for that wherever you can. But the rest of these bots as well also give bonuses, so with none of them you can really go wrong. This week's Fierce Battles are Shafu, the Karakul type, for melee anti-air, HPP-0 Hippopotamus for double break hammer, of course, and then RAN Rhino Rush for double missile, and then the super armor tank legs. Honestly, this week's Fierce Battles probably don't bring a whole lot to the table that'll make farming that over the event particularly worthwhile. So while it is honestly good to have them just for the sake of having the parts, I would not put a lot of time into raising Fierce Battles or grinding that this week and focus solely on the event. In addition to that, this week we also had some big news from Kotobukiya, and for those that have been waiting, we have finally news on the KXK0 Cross Messiah model kit that was announced not long, if not the same time as the Dorcas model kit, which actually will be debuting and officially releasing, I believe, at the end of this month, if the email for my pre-order is accurate. But pre-orders as of today, or essentially last night if you're here on the East Coast, are officially live, so you can go onto the Medarot store or any place that you find your model kits from abroad and place your pre-order. I placed mine on AmiAmi, so I'm really looking forward to getting the confirmation for that, as well as looking forward to adding this one to my collection. Expected release is to be about January of 2022, so about 5.5 months roughly before we get to hear anything else on the development of this kit or its release, but definitely a good chance to get a hold of your pre-order now if you want to get that pre-order bonus, especially with it being a discount, since AmiAmi does offer it on a bonus of about 4,600 JPY if I recall correctly, in contrast to a full price of about 66 US dollars, which, as I did mention here, 6,600 yen. However, if you do order through the Medarot store, they do highlight a bonus clear eyes mask that you can use as a faceplate and the crystal gem on his chest. So if that's particularly something you want to look for, do try to take a look at the Medarot site first. If not that, do take a look wherever you do order your model kits and see if it is available for pre-order. And if it is, do make sure you get your pre-ordering now sooner than later to make sure that you are guaranteed one upon release. Aside from that, as always, we are always looking for translators to help with any game or manga translations, especially with this week being with the Reloaded manga, to give that more attention and affection for sure. So if you have any knowledge of Japanese coding or cleaning and have some time on your hands, we are more than open and appreciative to any feedback or assistance that you might be willing to offer. So if you would like to lend a hand with something or would like to be brought up to speed on what's going on, please do feel free to lend a hand and reach out to me or to someone else in our Discord channel. We are more than happy to bring you up to speed on everything that's been done and everything that currently is needed up to this point. Currently, progress is still leaning towards the Medarot 3. Progress has been moving steadily consistent, I suppose. It could definitely be going a lot faster, but if you translators out there looking for a project to help out with, you can definitely help us release that faster so we can move on to titles such as 4, 5, Navi especially, there's been a lot of progress on and interest in. So if you guys would like to see those projects sooner than later, we are more than open to any feedback or assistance you'd be willing to lend a hand for. Aside from that, I believe that covers everything for this week's video, so I do appreciate you guys for stopping by. As always, if you'd like to know more, you can follow us below at the Medarot News Network on Facebook, or the Metabots Forever community in addition to that. You can also follow us on Discord at the link provided and in the comments below if you'd like to keep up to date and keep a closer ear to the ground on everything going on currently. You can also follow me on Twitter at Isagami-kura, so if you have any questions for me, you can also reach out to me in private or on there, or even comment on there if you have any suggestions or feedback or questions on anything that's covered or anything that maybe needed a little more attention. On top of that, also give these other fine folks a follow too. Eru4, Calidori, who also manages the Metabots OOC page, also on Twitter. Fantastic artist, wonderful art. I've commissioned a couple pieces from them, and honestly, I have never once been disappointed, so definitely worth a follow. Fantastic art, wonderful streams as well. And on top of that, also do follow Metabots Daily on Twitter as well for your daily Metabots facts and Medarot of the day, essentially. And aside from that, I do appreciate you guys again for stopping by. It's always happy to have you in for a visit. Until next time, this is your host, Kura Isagami of the Medarot News Network, signing out.